Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Kowloon Generic Romance, Season 1, Episode 7. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So first and foremost, we go a little bit back in time where before Kudo ends up proposing to Reiko, because he's asking Gwen, like, do you think that's a good idea? I want to propose to her, because this is a sometime before. I was about to say Kowloon City. I have to specify walled Kowloon City number 2, because obviously the original city got demolished in 94 and then was like illegally built up, but this version of the city is being taken down. And I think it's a thing I think the way Kudo was phrasing it is like he wants her to have, like, he knows how hard it's going to be for Reiko to lose this city, considering how important it is to her. And so it's like, I want to basically have like good memories associated with. So this, like, he's like, by this summer, I can't remember if he said by this summer or after this summer. I would assume after this summer because of the conversations I don't, because they were like, the demolishing started in October. But I don't know if by then the city was all, like, by the time we see that scene, the city was already being demolished, or was it like the following October, that October that followed that summer, like, was, you know, I don't know the full timetable of like where some of these events take place in comparison to the demolition of the city, because it actually kind of got me thinking. I'm like, how long does it take to demolish an entire city? Like, how long does that take? Gwen does ask him the question because he's happy for his friend, but he's like, how much do you really know Reiko? And he's like, well, I know her enough, you know, I know some stuff about her, but obviously, like, he cares very deeply for her, and he kind of wants this situation to happen because she's become someone that he really deeply cares for. So but then we also pick up where the last episode left off, that building that collapsed, and Kudo went to investigate it, and he runs into Gwen, and it's like, wait, you're the original Gwen? It's like, yeah, I'm the original Kudo. It's like, wow, this is crazy, you know? And he's kind of like, right, one of the reasons why I came to Kowloon is like, I wanted to see you. I want you to kind of leave this place. I mean, he also came for Miyuki as well, but it's like, I want you to leave this place because I don't think you should stick around. But he's like, if you're only sticking around because of that other Reiko Kujirai. But for Kudo, it's like, I don't want to leave. He's like, I know, like, this situation is, he's like the original, so he knows what happened to this Kowloon City. But for him, it's like, I don't want to leave. And it's like, is it just because of Reiko? She's not your Reiko. Like, your Reiko is gone. And it's just, it's kind of, once again, that conversation about, you know, that our Reiko Kujirai has no nostalgia for Kowloon, like, you know, Kudo does, because of, you know, he came to love Kowloon, and he also came to love Reiko and Kowloon. So it's kind of like one and the same. So letting go of Kowloon would also be like letting go of Reiko. So it's not, there's no, the lines between differentiating the two are so minuscule. You can't, like, they're so connected, you can't separate them anymore. But yeah, he wants to stick around, and obviously Kudo was like, oh, you're in love, right? And he's like, right, I am, even though I kind of got dumped. But it's like, and he kind of throws the question back at Gwen, like, do you really know this person? He's like, I know a little bit about him. It's like, but I want to spend more time with him. I want to get to know him even more. And obviously for Kudo, he's happy for his friend, but it's like, I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to leave. Because he's like, don't worry about me. He doesn't tell this to Gwen. He just walks away thinking, and he's like, don't worry about me. I'll always be here. So it's like, you'll know exactly where to find me type of situation. So, but we also catch up with Miyuki, because he ends up coming across Dr. Wong's clinic. So he's like, all right, so there's a Dr. Wong here as well. I think him and Yulong are having this conversation because apparently Gwen does not know that Miyuki is originally from Kowloon, because they had this whole conversation of like, hey, the guy you're here for that you care about, is he an outsider like us? And they're both outsiders to Kowloon. They just moved to Kowloon, obviously Kudo for work. Gwen probably just stumbled here. Just, you know, we don't know like too much about Gwen. But he's like, yeah, Miyuki's the same way. But it's like, no, Miyuki, like, I wonder, did Miyuki specifically grow up in Kowloon? And I wonder if that has something to do with, like, because he even talks about it later on about, like, this whole aspect of revenge. Once again, the whole revenge against like his dad and stuff. So I'm wondering if that had a part to play in like maybe he was born in Kowloon, kind of separated from his family, but then whatever happened, he kind of got drawn back into the Heavy Numa family. Because he does ask like, because he ends up passing out, and I'll talk about this really quickly, but he ends up at a dance club and he asks for someone. He's like, Sihan. So I'm assuming like he might. I'm assuming like in the grand scheme of things, Miyuki's probably a bastard child. Like, because the person he asked for, he was like, "Do you know a Sihan?" And she's like, "I don't think I know that name." I'm like, it's got to be his mom, because he's probably trying to see if there's a version of his mom that's here. It's probably, I think, what that is, because he had brought up his mom a little before he had passed out. Like, or maybe it might have been when he was waking up in the club that he was like talking about missing that smell, and he brought up his mom. So I think that's why I think like he was separated from the Heavy Numa family, because he's the bastard child, and the person that Heavy Numa's Miyuki's dad is trying to bring back is like, oh, you're my legitimate child. So I think that's where that comes into place, and that also probably plays into his resentment, because I'm assuming his mom not being accepted probably sent her spiraling and probably caused it, because it could easily be a situation of she did her best to raise Miyuki and she died maybe destitute, and so like maybe it's a thing of he didn't bring Miyuki into the Heavy Numa family proper until like after his mom had died or something like that, or maybe Miyuki had to really force his way into the Heavy Numa family, something like that. That might play into, like I said, his whole revenge plot. But yeah, either way, circling back really quickly, when he passed out, because he's like, oh, this is heat stroke, but then he's like, no, this is something different. He's like, I was perfectly fine when I was navigating this place with Gwen, but I wonder if it's a situation of like maybe when you're by yourself in this place and you're kind of one of the people who sees like you aren't one of the people that accepts this Kowloon as it is. You're just someone who is able to come and go, but see this version of Kowloon that maybe it takes its toll on you. Like it's constantly seeping its fingers and like digging into your skin, and it just it's taking a toll. I don't know. But while he was passed out, he remembered like back when he met Gwen. Now this is like I said, the timetable where it's like at that the news report was like they just finished demolishing the city, and I don't know if we knew that the Heavy Numa group was like the lead in the whole demolishing of the city. So, and that's why he was kind of bringing up. He basically talked about like, oh, I basically ended up destroying something that I loved, which I'm sure Gwen knows that the Heavy Numa company had something to do with it, but he probably doesn't know. Like he probably thought Miyuki was talking about something else, maybe like a significant other or something, not realizing like, well, was talking about a significant other, this city that he loved and cared about, that was important to him, because it was probably important to his mom too. But there was this interesting conversation where like the bartender was like, oh yeah, like it must be good to be so handsome and you're kind of like a jack of all trades. But he's like, no. I'm just like decent enough at I kind of know a little bit of everything and I just get by. But then Miyuki later on, it's like, that's kind of a front. The fact is, it's kind of a lie so that people aren't jealous of you. It's how you kind of start and build friendships and rapport with people. It's kind of like you start off with a lie, but he's like, you keep doing that long enough, it will become a habit. You need to kind of be a little bit more honest. Because I think, Miyuki's coming from a place of, that conversation, like, was it last episode or the episode before last, the whole conversation about, no, it was definitely the episode before. Like, it was like episode 5. The whole like, just because he grew up in the Heavy Numa family doesn't mean like he just had everything handed to him, because he's like, once again, it's like, even if that is the case, it's still the situation of what you have to sacrifice, and he sacrificed himself, and that's more like his identity with his mom and Kowloon, to be a part of this family, because it's like, yeah, he has it by birthright, but also he still had to like fight for it, because it wasn't always initially his, because once again, I do believe him to be the bastard child. But him and Gwen kind of hit it off immediately and just start making out, because Gwen's like, okay, like the place I'm taking you isn't anything special. I didn't really have any money and I want to go to a place just because I want to spend more time with you. The two of them make out, eventually have sex, and it's kind of like, oh, his genital situation, or their genital situation. And I thought it was interesting because for Miyuki, it's like, I've never been kind of been a man. I've never been a woman. If you ask me what my gender situation is, like I can't answer that. And I thought it was interesting because Miyuki's coming from the perspective of I can never be the complete me, because it's like it's almost like it's like a binary thing almost of like by acknowledging and fully being accepting of one side of yourself, it makes it a little bit easier to be like, oh, like this is the complete me. But we consider I've got both genitals, but I also don't belong to either gender. He's like, but in that incompleteness, I want to find my absolute self. The absolute me is me here. That not being able to fit into any category. This non-binariness of like, no, like this is going to be my absolute self, which is so interesting considering Reiko's the one that's really pushed the whole absolute self, and they kind of have that conversation about that. But I'll get to that in a second. But for Miyuki, he's never had to be with someone who's never like, like never gets so caught up in the whole like, what am I, a man or a woman? Like Gwen's the first person that's never really gotten too caught up in that, and so that felt nice for Miyuki. Once again, I think Miyuki's just got a lot of complicated stuff on a personal level, on a familial level, and stuff like that. So yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting, and I guess that's why that relationship is so important to him, even if he like is trying to break up with Gwen. Like I said, I think it's to keep him safe so he's not dragged into his path of revenge, and just like my dad is aware of you, so like I don't want you even on his radar. So if it means being alone again and hurting you, I'd rather hurt you than you be hurt by my dad, because who knows what because that man, because I'm assuming it has something to do with his mom. It's like that man destroys lives, and I don't want him to destroy. He's already taken from me. I don't want him to take any more of what I love. So once again, speculation on my part in that regard. But either way, when he wakes up in the club, he ends up running into Reiko because she's there investigating some stuff. Because I think like the company she works for is associated with the club, of like probably like rented her the real estate company probably like rented out this space. So she was investigating stuff, and they have an interesting conversation because she's asking like, okay, am I zirconian? And he's like, oh wow, you've learned a lot. You've learned that you're not like Reiko, because he was like, oh, did you get your memories back? She's like, no, I realized that those memories never existed for me. Like I might look like Reiko Kujirai, but we are two separate people, and he's kind of like, oh wow, you kind of done a lot of detective work, you've done a lot of leg work. But there's a whole conversation about, once again, absolute self, where it's like I am my own person. I'm not Kujirai B, and I'm not trying to be. I might look like her, and people will see me that way, but I am my own person. Like I have made my own choices. I made choices that Kujirai B couldn't, and that kind of differentiates us. And once again, she's like, I'm going to be that absolute self, which strikes a chord with Miyuki. But he brings up this interesting point of no matter how much we try, like establishing kind of like a self identity is hard, because yes, you could say all these things about this is me, and it's easier. It's as a whole, it's easier to kind of handle that on an individual personal level. But the problem is you'll never be able to fully accept all of who you are, because you need other people's equal evaluation of your existence to really fully be complete. And for her, the biggest piece to the puzzle she's missing is Kudo, because every time Kudo looks at her, he's not seeing the Reiko Kujirai we've come to know. All he sees is his dead fiance, so it's like until you can kind of get him to kind of recognize you as you are without seeing her, he's like, you'll never fully like have that equal evaluation. Because it's like, yeah, you have memories with people and stuff like that, and people accept you, but it's like the one person you need to accept you as you to kind of fully like on all sides kind of crystallize the absolute self is Kudo. And it's such a complicated thing. I thought that was just a fascinating. Once again, it's like there's a very deep level and layered conversation about identity and self, and especially that strikes a chord the more we're learning about Miyuki, about one who has an identity situation going on. So there's like a chord being struck between both of them. And I think that's also why he finds Reiko so fascinating, because he's like, right, you're not Zirconian, but you're also not a clone. And he uses the, what was the, there was another word he used, but basically generic is the word used. And it's like, in the context, I don't know what that fully means. And so Reiko talks with Yao Mei about it. It's like, yeah, that's kind of my situation. And Yao Mei is kind of like, huh. But she's like, I think I want to move out of Reiko's place. And Yao Mei's like, oh my God, yes, great. She's like, yeah, like I'm continuing to like, I don't have to like, I might look like Kujirai, but I don't have to like live in her shadow. I am my own person, and this is kind of that step forward. And Yao Mei's all about. She's like, yes, yes, Queen, like go off, Queen, do your thing. In fact, she's like, we can get some people to help you move out, but she's like, no, 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 no. I want like, if anyone's going to decide what happens to that place, it should be Kudo. Which even Yao Mei's like, yeah, that's reasonable. It's like he should be the one to decide what to do about like that, because it's like she doesn't want to take anything from it, because it's like none of that is mine except for any. The only thing that's really in the place is like there's some stuff like, I think that lipstick or lip gloss plus success, her goldfish or fish. I think he's gonna go goldfish, but maybe not, because don't goldfish like have super short lifespans? Either way, those are only the few things that she has. Also, volume 2 of that book. So there's a few things she can take with her, but in the grand scheme of things, all that's Kujirai B stuff, and it's like Kudo should be the one that determines that. Who, funny enough, he shows up and he says like, "Yo, it's the anniversary of Kujirai's death." And so I'm assuming it's like April 31st. Now, that's the question I'm curious about, because we know that the demolishing of Kowloon City took place on October. Now, was that October before she died at the end of August, or did she die like a couple months before the demolition started? Is it like, that's what I'm curious. Like, when did the demolition, was it pre or post her death? And because of that, she decided to stay. And Yao Mei's like, what? You're staying? Why are you flip-flopping so much? Because at first she's like, well, you're saying you're staying, but now you're changing your mind. Yes, yes, yes. Wait, you're changing your mind again? It's like, what's going on here? And it's like, did he say something to you? And it's like, well, the whole Kujirai death situation. It's like, okay. She's like, I get it. She's like, I still want you to move out, but I'm going to respect your choices. And she's like, is there? But you could rearrange things. Maybe move the bed. She's like, I'll put up new curtains. And Yao Mei's like, good. I know a spot where we can go to get like a very specific fabric. I can even make the curtains for you. It's like, but we'd have to go to Hong Kong to get the like specific fabric. So like, would you want to come along? It's like, hell yeah, let's do that. So at the same time, I need to rewind a little bit. Yulong is looking into like some of the medical records of Dr. Wong's, and he finds Reiko's, and we find out finally how Reiko died. She killed herself. Now, on her report, it says like Reiko Kujirai insomnia. He's like, I couldn't treat her until after death. So I don't know if it's a thing of he couldn't find a solution for whatever she was ailing her until after she died, or almost is it like a twisted thing of like death was kind of the cure. Now, because of the whole insomnia and the whole like potentially killing herself thing, part of me wonders, was it like some specific illness? But because of the insomnia, I had to look it up to make sure. I believe this is the thing I was thinking of, but was it fatal familial insomnia? Basically, it's like an insomnia where you lose the ability to sleep and eventually you die from it, because you just like your body can't ever rest. You're like, I remember a couple years ago hearing some stories about people having it. It's a very, very rare condition. I believe it's hereditary as well, I think. I remember a story about someone inheriting it from like their family, and it's like when you have kids that there's a potential for them to have it. It's in your genetics, but like it's a very rare disease, and I don't know if that's the route it's going. But the moment seeing like insomnia on her medical records made me think about that. Maybe that's why she offed herself, because it was just too much. And it was the only way to end. Like that's I don't know, and especially coinciding that with the city being demolished. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get some more insight on it. But now you understand, like, once again, kudos saying what he'd said, like, right? Because even Gwen probably knows, like, oh, he blames himself for what, like it is a blame yourself situation, even though it's like she took her own life. Maybe you feel responsible on some level for whatever reason of like, I could have done something. There might have been signs like, what if I done this? What if I done that? Maybe that's kind of the headspace Kudo is in. But either way, the episode ends. Oh, really quickly, we also find out Gwen's not eating food from the city. He's got like these prepackaged like meals, that nutrient meals that Miyuki had him eating. He's like, yeah, because Miyuki's like, well, this place doesn't really exist, and who knows what that would do to you. And he's also perfectly being like, the origins of a place, food from a place that technically doesn't exist, even though I'm seeing it and interacting with it, I don't feel too comfortable eating that food. So that's just interesting. I didn't even think about something like that. I mean, obviously, it must not have too much of a negative effect, considering like, well, Yao Mei and Kudo are eating food here perfectly fine, but once again, you don't know what that's doing to them in the long run. I don't think there's anything to it, but it's also like it's an experiment to see like, okay, like what does the effects of someone who's living in Kowloon eating this food versus someone who might be visiting or living here not eating the food from this place. Like, it's like you need a control factor in this experiment and hypothesis, But either way, just before Reiko and Yao Mei were about to leave the city, before she even stepped out of the city limits completely, Gwen comes and grabs her, and Yao Mei's like, what are you doing? And a guy comes over with the pizza delivery guy being like, are you the one? And Gwen's like, yo, I ordered it. And basically the delivery guy cannot see the city, nor can he see Reiko. So now Gwen has to basically break it all down. It's like, this city, you and me and Kudo and Miyuki, we are very rare that we are people who see the city for what it is. We can actually see the city when there are other people who can't. There's not a lot of people who can see the city. And once again, based on last episode, we still don't fully know what the conditions are that make it so that people can see the city. And Yame's trying to understand. She's like, no. Like, I've been around Reiko. She's real. I've talked to her. Like, she's hugged her. We've had meals. We've interacted with people. So she's like, this doesn't make any sense. And Gwen's like, Yao Mei, you never knew anything about Kowloon before coming here, right? Look it up. The city was demolished 3 years ago. So you're like, oh, so Reiko's been dead for 3 years. That's interesting. And so that's the thing too, because remember Gwen said he had that thing made up at the city, like at his tea house, but he's like, once he came here with Miyuki like a couple episodes ago, he was like, it's not here. So this place, it's probably operating a little bit like the Upside Down, even though I think the story predates the Stranger Things, because that wasn't revealed until like this most recent season 4, which came out like 2022. But like, because I want to say this manga started in like 2019, or it was serialized in 2019, right? Either way, I think this has a little bit of an Upside Down thing. If you've seen Stranger Things in season 4, slight spoilers, but it's not. There has been no like resolution to this, but it's revealed in season 4 that the Upside Down is basically been stuck in the past. Like when Will disappeared, the time in the Upside Down froze. It froze in it's specifically the night Will disappeared. That date and time is what time frame it is inside the Upside Down, even though in the regular world time has moved on. So I'm wondering if that's supposed to be applicable here, where it's like maybe, because who knows when in the process did Miyuki make that before the city was demolished. So it's like, it's not like, oh, the city popped up as it was. Like this city might be even further back in time. So like, say like not Miyuki, sorry, Gwen made that little shelter thing like a little bit before the city got demolished. Like maybe we're like, say like, oh, the city got demolished 3 years ago. What if this is from like Kowloon 4 or 5 years ago? Something like that. So, but now it makes this situation interesting because this city does not exist to a lot of people. And because it technically doesn't exist, what does that mean for Reiko? If Reiko ever leaves this city, like, would she disappear? Because we saw like, hey, that old man, like when he came into the city, the version of himself that was in Kowloon immediately disappeared. That's not something Reiko has to worry about because her original is dead. Gwen, it's like, well, my copy no longer exists. Well, not copy, I won't say copy, but the other Gwen no longer exists because the moment I entered Kowloon, he disappeared. So it begs the question, like, what would happen to Reiko? And that's the big concern. She might disappear. And now Reiko's thinking about, like, wait, Kudo stopped me last episode. Did he piece that together himself? Was he scared, like, if she set foot out of the city for whatever reason, she would disappear? He was like, stay by my side. It's like, I don't want to let you go. Like, he has to push and pull when it comes to her, but it's very different when he's like, I think if you leave this city, you might disappear. And our situation might be complicated, but I don't even want to imagine you not even being around anymore. I already had to go through that 3 years ago. The last thing I want to do is go through that again. So yeah, it's very, very interesting reveal and discovery. And it's so sad too, considering Reiko wants to travel, but she's bound to this city. And it's like, if she ever leaves it, like, who's to say whether or not I'd still exist, you know? And how does Yao Mei kind of come to terms with that too, knowing, like, right, she's the one pushing her friend to do all this stuff and wanting her to kind of get outside of Kowloon, and we have all these plans just for it to all kind of fall short, because who knows what would happen. Like, you might disappear forever, and Yao Mei's not going to want to take that chance. Gwen doesn't want to take that chance. I'm sure Miyuki wouldn't want to, just from the perspective of, well, there's probably a thing of, I'm curious what would happen, but you're such a vital subject, we don't want to lose you. But also, like, Gwen's like, I know if you leave this city and potentially disappear, it would destroy my friend Kudo. Like, Hajime would not be able to kind of handle that. So it's definitely going to be really interesting to see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.